All right, everybody, I am trying something new today, obviously, out here in nature, going live, talking about metabolic static, this topic of why your cells aren't listening. And I'm out here for a reason. It's beautiful. And we actually have this, I'm in New York, by the way, got out of Florida, got this amazing waterfall behind me, the scene of the crime. And the real feature of this live is the bags underneath my eyes. Kind of make it. Okay, well, we're gonna see how this connection works. Maybe I'll just try to sit still. But I'm out here in the nature. I'm talking about bags under my eyes. It all is tying together. And by the way, I'm not hungover. That's not why those are there. Actually, I had no alcohol. As I'm talking about cellular health today, we got Sachi thinking we're in the middle of a game of fetch. So might have to tease her eventually. But welcome. We're talking about how to make your cells work for you, not against you. Out here in nature, recharging our cells. And I will talk about that waterfall and what's going on, what I'm talking about with the bags under my eyes. And if you're actively working to heal your body, if you're just simply curious how to boost your energy and resilience, this is for you, so stick around. And I am offering a brand new 5-day free coaching experience challenge in a few weeks, August 4th through 8th. And it's going to be all about cellular health and simple tweaks that you can do to recharge your cells. Tiny shifts that you can make with just tiny tweaks in your life to emphasize your biology, your own biology. Make your body work for you. Learn all the ways you might not realize that you're working against. Okay. Going in and out of connection here, but how you might be working about your energy. So hopefully I can finish this live today out here in nature. If not, I will go home and finish it there. But stick around, because and then comment spark below if you want to learn about the new challenge that I just talked about and get involved. I'll be posting a lot about it in a few weeks. I haven't even really. Okay, we're back. Hey Moira, welcome. I hope you're sticking with me. I'm out here in nature trying to do the live. Spotty signal. Thought this would work, but let's continue and see how far I can get, and then maybe I'll just go home and do the rest. But what we're talking about today is cellular energy, how to spark it, and why you should care about this more than anything, more than what you're eating, more than what you're drinking. It all starts with the cell and how it's working. And I am Dr. Sara Schaefer. My doctorate is in nutritional biology, which is really the science of metabolism and how our bodies transform food and water and oxygen and to energy. And it's really biochemistry, but it's deeper than that. This is deeper than that. This is about physics, because the electromagnetic and electrical forces that allow our cells to come into formation, to function as they should, to communicate throughout our body, is all dependent on these laws of physics. If they aren't working in your favor, if your cells can't hold a charge, speaking of signals, if they don't respond to signals, all the nutrition protocols, the healthiest food in the world, all the supplements, all of that stuff won't work. It won't help, because the cells need that electrical charge. It all starts there. So that's really why I study the terrain beneath the terrain. That's what we're talking about. And that's how I help clients break through, get results when all these other things haven't worked. All these things that we've been taught, all these specialists we're going to, not get. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I thought that would work, did yesterday, but I was trying to do this live out in nature, and it gave me inspiration for what I wanted to talk about today. But here we are, back inside where everything's controlled and Wi-Fi signal is stable. So talking again about metabolic static, why your cells aren't listening, and how to get them to listen, how to get them to work with you, not against you. That's what I'm all about. And my challenges, my monthly challenges, are just really that, giving you education, simple shifts that you can use, integrate into your life that make big differences. Because there's a lot we don't learn about the average person that really we overlook. So many, or just some key concepts we overlook when it comes to making the body work optimally, and unknowingly we zap our energy, and that's responsible for the state of our health. So again, I'm Sara Schaefer. My expertise is in nutritional biology. That's what my PhD is in, what I've done a lot of research in, and studying how the body makes energy. And I'm bringing you all of the education and simple, actionable steps, things you can do through these live coaching events every month. So the last two have been about activating your detoxification pathways. Now we're going to the other emphasis of what the cell does is make energy, making energy. Without energy, well, yeah, it's harder to get up and go, but a lot of these unconscious functions also, decline, like lymphatic drainage and adrenal function and peristalsis, which pushes food through our intestine. We need energy to do all of that. So when energy dips, cellular energy, we might not be aware of it. These autonomic functions might dip, and body function just starts to decline, to fall into a state of decline. So, hey, Moira, we're back. Inside, outside, we were trying to make it work, but wanted to draw some inspiration from nature, but hence we are back here talking about how to make the laws of physics work for you. We're talking about the cells and cellular charge, and if your cells can't hold a charge, they can't respond to signals. Signals are hormones and neurotransmitters and those things that drive our communication throughout the body. So we need, if your cells aren't making energy, they can't absorb nutrients, which we need nutrients to make more energy. So it just becomes a vicious cycle. And so it's very important to learn how the cell works naturally so we can optimize those processes and that way break ourselves out of that cycle. Weak cells mean sickness and disease. Strong cells mean healing. Healing gets to happen. But if your cells are overburdened, which is the reason we're likely not well, not working optimally, is the cells are overburdened. They got a lot to do these days. There's no energy to drive healing. And that's what I see so often. These are all of my clients, basically. Systems too bogged down to respond. So if you're ready to just stop chasing solutions and get to the heart of the matter, get in my next challenge, because we are going to do that. And if you want to go deep, if you want to talk about what's going on with you, why you haven't been able to find the solutions as of yet, let's have a conversation. I'll tell you why. And Why do I know? Because I went down this road myself for years and years and years. It's not just coming from my expertise in cell science. I got sick too. My cells became super duper duper depleted of energy. I talk a lot about this here and my YouTube channel and but that's what drives this group. That's what drives my efforts, my education, is helping people recover their health, instead of staying in this cycle of what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me, chasing symptoms. We'll assess where your energy, if you want to book a call, we can assess where energy is being drained and how you can go about restoring your cellular charge. That's what we're talking about today. In fact, cellular voltage, cellular charge. If you're trying to charge your phone, here's an analogy. If you're trying to charge your phone, but you have a cord that is, I think we've all been through this, it's just frayed, or it's, not just doing the job. The phone just charges a little bit, and then you just get a flicker of improvement, but nothing sustains. It's a similar, that's the shift, that's what we're talking about. You're trying to charge your phone with a dying outlet. And the shift we make in the work that I do is starting at the energetic level. So I talk a lot about energy. It's not woo. This is cellular science. This is physics. We start at the energetic level so your body can receive the healing it's meant for. The healing it's desiring. So you don't have to keep pushing uphill. You don't have to keep searching, going from specialist to specialist. You have to plug your system back in. And that's what we're talking about today in this little mini training about metabolic static, why your cells aren't listening. When most people think of metabolism, you picture like your adrenal health or burning calories in, calories out, or maybe your thyroid. But most people think about, I just got to do more, I got to exercise more, I got to eat better. And that's all true. That's all true. But true metabolism is something that begins far deeper than just calories in, calories out, or any of your organs specifically, even though you can't really make energy without your vital organs, so we need them. But what I'm talking about today is deeper than any of that, and it's something that is within, actually around each cell, every cell. At the edge of every cell is the cell membrane. The cell membrane surrounds the cell, and it's your body's literal frequency gate. That's how we can kind of think of it. And it's why metabolism isn't really it isn't really about nutrition. It really isn't about food. It isn't really about how much calories you're burning or taking in. It's about physics. It's a physics problem first. So the cell membrane is the real boss of nutrient absorption and energy flow. And this is because your cells are we have anywhere between 50 trillion and 150 trillion cells. And each cell is like a little battery. Okay, you think of it like that, and it holds an electrical charge. That electrical charge is, I don't know why I'm not drawing, is held across the membrane. So we have our little cell. Oh, darn. I thought this was going to be a better marker. There we go. We have our little cell. It's like a donut, but that's the nucleus in the middle. So that's where our DNA is. That's not really. And then this cell membrane is around the cell, and we kind of think of it as the barrier of the cell, the protective barrier. And it's that the cell membrane, across the cell membrane, is what actually holds the electrical charge that drives everything. It's what determines what nutrients get in, what toxins leave, and how much energy the cell can make. All the energy is made inside the cell in these little, like, mitochondria. Maybe you've heard that word. That's kind of what we talk about mostly when we're talking about energy production is mitochondria. But these guys aren't really gonna, these little engines, which do really make the energy in the body, which is ATP, made by these guys, those drive cellular function. But that, okay, so we have, if your membrane is holding this charge, and this charge is technically in millivolts, so electricity is in voltage, millivolts, so it's a negative of voltage, because, and this charge is held by protons and electrons, you know, going across the this as they travel in from the outside into the cell to make energy. Nutrients from the outside are going into the cell, things like potassium and sodium and all these minerals, electrolytes, are holding this cellular potential. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but just so you understand that this is electricity, and it's made by, I'll talk about what it's made by, but it's made by, like, no, I'll talk about what that's made by, because that, you know, my point here is if the membrane potential is low, so we have this membrane potential, it's the optimal charge that the cell can hold. It's what gives the cell its most amount of energy. And it needs that energy to do all the things it's supposed to do, which is fight infections, digest food, you know, whatever, send signals throughout the body. But if you are, if the membrane, you know, can't hold its highest charge, well, let's just back up a minute. Right there, I was talking about what if your cell membrane holds the highest charge possible? What does that mean? Because I'm talking about something so microscopic here, but all the cells, the trillions of cells we have, all work together. So let's just talk about the one giant, well, the one metaphorical cell. If your cell membranes could hold their highest charge, what does that mean? It means your body can function as it's designed. It can function optimally. What does that mean? You don't need help. You don't need supplements. You don't need medicines, perhaps. You know, you could, it's important to consume healthy food because that's, and water, because that's what holds that electrical charge. So we'll talk about that. But imagine what that would feel like. You know, let's talk about $1 billion industry could just fall flat, but you would feel amazing if you had energy, if your cells could hold their optimal charge. Highest potential, that's what we're talking about. The magnetism of a cell when it's fully charged. It's fully magnetic, it can absorb nutrients optimally, it can fire, it can react optimally. All the circuits are firing on all 4 cylinders. So that's what we're talking about, optimal health. So what's that like? What would that feel like compared to what do you feel like now? Do you feel like all of your cells are charging, having the optimal voltage, firing as intended? Or are you feeling stagnant, fatigued in some way? If so, tired. It's not because you're not getting enough sleep. It's because your cells are not holding their optimal voltage. And when this happens, this is when our cells become vulnerable. Because, yeah, this is a barrier, and this barrier is electrical. It's like an electrical fence, actually. So our electrical fence, you know, we have it turned off, and all these things can invade it, which are naturally in our body all the time. Like, we have more viruses in our body than cells and bacteria combined. We have parasites. Everybody has parasites in our body, but they stay in our body when we are as a agreeable host. So what's going to make us not an agreeable host to parasites and things like that is having an electrical fence turned on. If it's turned off, all these little critters are think of it like a garden. And we have to turn the electrical fence on to keep the vermin out. I don't know. Sometimes my analogies aren't planned, but they often come back to like a house, a garden, planting the seeds. It's systems. This is systems, biology, systems, physics. But the body, it can really understand how it works when you look at it as a system, an electrical unit. The cell is an electrical unit. And true cellular metabolism is about how efficiently electrons and protons move across membranes, cell membranes, and through mitochondrial pathways. And that's what happens with the physics of all of this. I teach more detail about this in my gut mastery program about quantum nutrition, we can call it. It's not just about calories in, calories out. It's about the quality. Food that can literally charge your cells. Food that does not rob your body of energy to break it down. A lot of those foods, most of those foods come from nature. Go figure. Plant foods, whole foods, plant-based. That is the most energizing diet because of the quantity of electrons and protons, biophotons, in the form of protons that come from nature. They are very energizing. So if this cell membrane is damaged, by stress, oxidation, toxins, too many toxins accumulating in the body, then this cell membrane gets damaged, and that's when it can't hold a charge, and you're stuck with your frayed cord that's barely charging your cell phone. Can't get it to hold a charge. Need it everywhere you go, or I don't, it's because the problem isn't the fuel, no matter what supplements you're taking, it's the conductivity of the cells. No one talks about that unless you're a heart surgeon. But the whole body is electric. The liver's electric. The spleen's electric. Actually, the liver's here. Spleen's here. Thyroid's electric. The brain's electrical. And all of them are driven by cell membranes. So that's why our skin is electrical. That's why EKGs and stuff, we attach it to our skin because the impulses travel through the skin, so we can measure these signals in the body. And why I love the cell membrane so much, because I love it. It's so interesting and fascinating because it's such a dynamic, not only does it responsible for this, charge for our optimal potential, it's right there in the cell membrane. So if we can hack that, I have conflicting ideas about the word biohacking because we can talk about biohacking, but we're just really nutrition as a field is an overcomplication. Oh my gosh, nutrition science, my expertise, is an overcomplication. It's great that we know all these pathways. It's actually totally necessary, but to optimize health. But all we got to do is focus on how well the cell membrane is functioning, and the nutrition is for that. It's not for losing weight or gaining weight or whatever. It's about optimizing cell membrane potential. And what is so interesting about the cell membrane is, like I mentioned, it's a barrier, but it's actually not. It's an arrangement, well, like everything, it's a self-organizing, though, arrangement of molecules. Called phospholipids, lipids, fat molecules make up the cell membrane. That's what it is. It's made up of fat molecules and some proteins that act as transporters. So that arrangement of lipids does not occur without water. It must occur. A cell needs a watery medium. This thing that we have 100 trillion we're made of, we don't exist without, does not exist without water. If the cell becomes dehydrated, it just simply, without phospholipids and water, the cell just dissolves. So back to why we are over 99% water by molecular weight, and this cell is mostly it exists in a watery medium. It's a structured water, and that's why we are constantly required to drink water, because water is required for every metabolic process, and we need a constant intake of it, because obviously we're flushing out water, we're eliminating water, we need to taking it in, it's driving cellular energy. So that's the first step we need for energy, is water. It's not food, really. It's water. We need water to make energy. H2O, hydrogen, oxygen, protons, and electrons. And another interesting thing is about this, I don't know how this art is going to work, but this is what the cell membrane looks like. It's an arrangement of lipids, phospholipids. They look like that. So the heads are attracted to water. The tails are repelled by water. So in water, they form like that, and that's essentially one bond that forms the cell membrane. So it looks like that. Boom, boom. Okay, so this is the idea. That's what the cell membrane looks like. All going all the way around in a circle. So that's what I'm drawing there. Let me draw a little arrow. Okay, so here's what's interesting and what makes this so phenomenal is the fact that its characteristics are determined by diet, by the fat in our diet, the nature of the fat we're consuming. And that will directly impact the characteristics of the cell membrane and how well it functions and how well it holds a charge. So the fat you eat is very important for your body to hold a charge. So eat that fat, but make sure it's healthy fat, because unhealthy fat means unhealthy cell membranes. So, for example, trans fats from processed food, highly oxidizable. It does not make a stable, flexible cell membrane. An overconsumption of saturated fat, i.e. animal fat, is also problematic. Now, we do need a certain amount because that fat is saturated. And so saturated fat, just the way those molecules are, they are straight lines, and so they stack like a pile of bricks. So literally it turns your cell membrane into a brick. It makes it very rigid. Well, we don't like rigid. We like flexible. When we're talking about electric charge and energy flow word is key. Flow does not happen through a rigid structure. What doesn't break. What doesn't bend breaks. And too much saturated fat creates that rigid structure, which doesn't allow the cell membrane to perform its optimal function of absorbing nutrients and recognizing hormones and neurotransmitters. So it's important to have unsaturated fats, healthy oils, healthy plant foods, avocados, nuts, things like that. Fats from nature that are not processed is pretty much the equation there. So the cell membrane is very sensitive also. It's sensitive to the environment. It is not only sensitive to diet, because in the cell membrane is also a bunch of receptors. Hormone receptors, all kinds of receptors. I'm not going to start listing them because I know I'm going to miss them. But for example, hormone receptors. That's how your body gets the message. It sends out a hormone, and then that hormone binds to a receptor. Without both of those processes, we don't have the result of that hormone. So you can have normal amounts of the hormones in your blood and everything, but you don't have the receptor functioning well, then the result will be hormone imbalance, even though you have normal levels. So that's one example. But there's a lot of receptors on the cell membrane telling it what to do according to what is coming through the bloodstream. Like all the signals the body's sending are received at the level of the cell membrane pretty much. Electromagnetic field is those signals are from the electromagnetic field. So that is why a lot of this work that I do is focused on that, because the cell membrane receives those signals. Your logical mind doesn't really make sense of them, but your body knows. So we can impact a lot of change by shifting what's in the field coming in and those signals that the cell membrane receives. But we need to have the cell working with proper nutrition and water, and that's what we focus on in my Gut Mastery program, because those things are, I've got it down to a science. The right tools. We can talk about healthy diet, but if you have gut issues, you're probably not absorbing food optimally. So we need a new strategy. Everybody's a little different with what their body's conditions, what their body's asking for, but that's the heart of what I do, is figure out what's your body asking for. Where do we start? What do we need? What do your cells need? And it all starts with that charge. So I don't really, that's why I do this Flesh It Out challenge, because we're not going to start an intensive detoxification process, even though that's what's needed, if your cells are too weak to detox. That's going to cause more damage. That's going to cause the release of toxins that aren't leaving the body fully. Recirculation, more toxicity. We don't want that. That's what we're trying to eliminate. So you got to do this stuff right. And if you're doing it right, it's very easy. It's simple. Your body already knows what to do. We just got to give it the tools. So that's what we're doing. We're teaching you the tools to optimize your cellular biology. And that's how we take back our health. We understand it. So if this sounds too out there or new, or, well, it should be, because this is the stuff that is key to make change in the body, gain control of the body so that it can maintain its vibrance. And a lot of, I don't know what to say here, a lot of industries, but even wellness, there's a lot of effort to restore health, a lot of nutrition, a lot of things out there to restore health. A lot of people looking for answers. No one's talking about this, so we got to pay attention to new concepts. They might just be the answers, but this charge, like I said, it drives everything. It drives nutrients, it drives detoxification, it drives mitochondria's ability to make energy. It drives your gene expression. This is what I'm talking about when you can turn off your bad genes, your unhealthy genes, and turn on healthy ones. This is where I'm talking about if genetics loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Well, this is the environment. It's the cellular environment. You could be in the healthiest environment, but if your cells don't have a charge, you're still not moving energy through your body. But often it's the environment that impacts our cells. So let's talk about that. What disrupts membrane dynamics? Diet, we talked about that. Inflammatory oils. This is why seed oils are so problematic and should be avoided at all costs. We're talking about canola and sunflower and all these processed vegetable oils that are so inflammatory. This is why. They just blow your cell membranes. They create very unstable inflammatory cell membranes, and that is the metabolic static I'm talking about. That prevents this charge from holding. Is that inflammation, oxidation. And so it's these diet recommendations are often, some of these crazy diets like carnivore. This is why I don't really, promote carnivores, because meat doesn't really give the body much charge. It kind of can create a lot of oxidation. It's acid forming in the body, and that will drive that cell membrane charge down. We need plant foods that are alkalizing, that creates that gives protons in a form that energizes our bodies. Berries, lemons. So also, obviously overconsumption of sugar and is another source of oxidation. Emotional trauma, chronic stress. I'm talking about these a lot because this is about the nervous system regulation too. And if we have unconscious energy drains, vagus nerve dysregulation, then that can certainly keep the body in a stressed out state. Chronic stress doesn't allow the body to prioritize holding a charge. Or I guess it's using that charge. It's like using all that energy up, and it's using it up faster than it can restore. So it's really depleting. Being in a state of fight or flight is highly energy draining. And then the accumulation of toxins can certainly embed in the cell membrane. Toxins live in our fats. The cell membrane is fat. So that's a number one place where toxins like to live. So problematic there and that's why that's why heavy metals are so bad, because they disrupt the charge, because they're metals. So they throw off that electricity. Electrical flow. They can be energy draining. Simply, it's an elemental issue. And then, obviously if our cells aren't holding that electrical charge, then they become an easier host to pathogens. Stealth pathogens can become a vicious cycle. Things like parasites, things like some of the more neurotoxin generating things like Lyme and Bartonella, and those infections, can really drain energy over time because they're so stealth in the body, and they target cellular communication. They target our neurology. So it can be a real hidden energy drain. If you can't figure out where your fatigue is coming from, well, that's an avenue to explore. So what do we do to keep the cell membrane healthy? Let's make a list. Fats in the diet. Let's start with that. Healthy fats. So what is that? Omega-3s, wild fish. Let's see, healthy, it's phospholipids. So think about if you see any brain supplements, they often have a lot of like phospholipid serine or phospholipid choline, and these are different phospholipids for different cells, and they're really targeting that cell membrane function. But we want healthy fats like wild caught fish, healthy seeds and nuts, flax seeds, chia seeds. Omega-3s are great for specific membrane, repair functions. Hydration is another thing, because we don't have a cell membrane if we don't have water. So hydration, H2O, plus minerals. Hydration isn't just water. Hydration is water and appropriate amount of minerals that give it structure, organic minerals that allow it to be absorbed into the body. And so we got healthy cell membrane. I guess this is probably backwards because I'm on my phone, but maybe I'm just making the list for myself. Frequency, that I use a lot of frequencies to recalibrate the body and the membrane voltage, and that's sometimes what you're seeing with the 528 hertz or whatever, these different frequencies. That's what they're doing. That's really cool. They're recharging your cells. I use the AO scan to do that. I trust the frequencies. Sometimes I don't know what you're getting out there with free frequencies. But that's frequency work, frequency medicine. It's fascinating. There's frequency technologies, things like PMFs and other kinds of, lots of frequency technologies, all designed to charge that cell, increase that cellular voltage. It's actually decreased, it's negative, but charged, fully charged. That's the goal. Emotional detox is part of this, you guys. I talk a lot about emotions. I talked last live about emotions. We got to clear trapped shock. We got to clear these trapped emotions. They are preventing the flow of electricity. They're preventing your cells from working optimally. They resonate with specific organs. They can really decrease that organ function, and that can really throw off the whole system. Now, what's really interesting when it comes to gut health and the cell membrane, I got to touch on this because the microbiome really sends constant messages to the cell membranes via, the vagus nerve. It's connecting the brain and the gut-brain axis. But also we have, when we break down food, the products of that breakdown, the metabolites, it's called metabolic byproducts, those are signals. So those are signals to your cells. So literally, if you're eating crappy food, the breakdown of that food sends the signals, hey, we're eating crappy food. This is what you got to do to, make the most of it. Versus eating healthy food sends the signals to optimize cell function for health. We don't have to go into defensive mode. We don't have to deal with inflammation. We can go ahead and optimize for health. So it's like these messages happening way before the chemistry, way before, maybe way beyond what we understand. There's a lot of signaling that happens in the body that occurs along these energetic electrical channels that drive how it works. Think about the heart. It's an electrical thing that sun's electrical, it operates on electricity. The whole body does. And it's all housed in the cell membrane. So that's really the key of what I want to talk about, the point I wanted to make. And I totally forgot what I was talking about, why I started this talk out in nature. Is, well, first of all, the point of today is that if the cell membrane isn't listening, the cell can't respond, because the cell membrane is central to everything else that happens. It all starts with the cell membrane. At every moment, the charge we need to drive every function in the cell. So metabolism, it's not about food and diet. It's not just calories, fat, how much fat, how much carbohydrates, how much protein. That is important, but that is one aspect of it. And so it's about electrical communication. Metabolism is about nutrition, is about electrical communication, terrain, energy, charge. And this is why so many people feel stuck, because they're focusing on all the supplements they need to take to feel better. That's what most people are sold on. It's like, and a lot of those supplements do drive cellular function, but without understanding if those nutrients can even get into the cell. They can't without optimal charge. You don't need those nutrients if you have an optimal charge. You can absorb the nutrients, all the nutrients you need, and assimilate them perfectly if you have optimal electrical charge. So focus on that. And we focus on that with water, proper hydration, but that's not as simple as purifying water these days. I got it down to a science. If you can get access to pure natural spring water, that's what your body needs. And so I've been going to a creek the last few days that I started this talk at, and with my nieces. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And I was like just lying with this gush of this waterfall. It's really shallow, and it was just coming down on my head. And I was like, this is such powerful energy, this structured water going over these rocks and just beating down into my head. It didn't just feel like a hydro massage, which it felt like an electrical bath. Like I felt I was charged afterwards. And then, and then that's where things got interesting, because I was like, sweet, I'm going to start doing this every day. But that night, I went to bed at like 8 o'clock, and I just woke up like dragging. But then I was like, I had in my mind, I'm going to go back and do that again today, or yesterday. And my nieces wanted to go, so we went back, and I was like, I'm going to do it for 2 minutes, lie under this waterfall, and charge my cells. That was my intention, which I believe it was doing. But then again, I thought it was just a fluke. I was so tired. And then again last night, at like 6 o'clock, so I did it for 2 minutes, and then at like 6 o'clock, I was zonked. I had nothing, no energy. And then this morning I woke up with these crazy bags. I was like, oh, my cells got charged. They did. And then they went into detox. They went to detox mode, and which is great because think about it, they got that charge, and then all of a sudden they were more capable to kick out anything that shouldn't be there, probably in my head, any who knows what's up there. But I feel like that's what's happening. I feel like I'm detoxing. And so I think if I keep doing my waterfall therapy, after a few days, I won't feel tired anymore. I'll feel extra charged. So that's why I got out there in nature, just to kind of prove the point that This stuff is simple. It's all around us. We don't need to overcomplicate it. We just need more education, kind of a better education about how the body works for us to be able to properly manage it, properly optimize the cellular processes, the cellular biology, make it work for us, not against us. That's always what we want to do. So do not miss out on my upcoming challenge, you guys. August 4th through 8th, we are going to get your spark back. I'm going to every day focus on sort of a new aspect, a different aspect of cellular energy and different tweaks that you can make to boost it. This is all free. This is just the education I want to get out there and to help find the people that are looking for deeper solutions, because I have those too. Because if you've been stuck in a healing cycle for years and years and years and years and you feel like there's no hope, there absolutely is hope. You just need to get plugged in, and that needs to be more of a process. If your body's been struggling, we can't just flip the switch and expect everything. The body doesn't really work like that. It works in layers. Because it can only handle so much stress at a time. So as a kinesiologist, I talk to the body as a frequency medicine frequency practitioner. I talk to the body, find out what stress it has prioritized, like the most stressful thing, to eliminate given how much energy it has. So priority isn't always about what the most harmful thing is in your system. Like, say you go get your labs done and you have, I don't know, Epstein-Barr. Let's call that super harmful, because I don't know. Let's maybe talk about, let's call C. diff. Let's call it C. diff, which, you know, is like super pathogenic, causes a lot of like really intense gut symptoms. If you have an overpopulation, you might have that. But then you also have, just another bacteria, or I'm always looking at parasites, but I don't know how many. Let's just say salmonella. I don't know. So we're talking about your microbiome and two things that might make you sick. And one is like more red alert. We have that in the blood. We got to get rid of that. We got to go on all these antibiotics, or you just, so I know if you get the blood test, you just have a list of things. If you get your microbiome analyzed, I guess. I was talking about blood, but that's not really how we analyze the microbiome. But I'm just saying, like, if what we're looking at in a test, an assessment of some sorts, a laboratory that's measuring chemistry and determining, pathogenic agents in your body, we might see a bunch of things. We might see the most harmful thing and think, okay, that's the one to target. When really, maybe it's just in a tiny amount, or the body's not responsive to it, but it's really the brucella or the lead toxicity or whatever else. I don't know. I'm not thinking of good examples right now, but it's something else. The body speaks in priority. It can't function. So like when I first went to a kinesiologist, I had an overtoxic liver. So we couldn't worry about anything else harmful in my body until I could address the number one priority. So that's how the body speaks, very intelligently. It knows what it needs, and it speaks through energy and frequency. So that's why I use these methods to talk to it, to get safe results, effective results, to not keep you hurting your body for 10 years trying to find solutions, because that's what I did. That's what happened. Trying to find the solutions. A very educated person in this whole field fell deep into the cycle of misinformation, and This stuff, I've known this stuff for 20 years, you guys. This is one of the first classes I took as a doctorate in nutrition, science, and then kind of forgot it. No, it always was there. It always was there. And they didn't teach it to everybody. This is some weird class I ended up in to really drive in home these concepts of the cell membrane. But we just really we teach basic biology. We all learn this stuff in high school about the cell membrane, but that's how we really control our bodies, is understanding how that structure, which isn't a structure, it is an arrangement of molecules. If we understand how it works and what it needs to function, we wouldn't be distracted by all of this crap we're sold. We'd be feeling great. We wouldn't need it. It wouldn't exist. It would not exist. The diet industry wouldn't, because your metabolism would be on fire. It'd be working perfectly. What would that feel like? How much energy would you have? All your problems would be solved, most of us. We could focus on bigger things, but the static is inflammation, it's oxidation, and it's driven by our food choices, our environment, most of the information coming into our realm, our electromagnetic field. That's the connection between the electromagnetic field and the cell membrane. It's that electric charge. And they're very connected, and this is how we make shifts in the physical body, is that information. We can detect things in the energy body before they convert into the physical body. We can identify all kinds of stuff at that level. So ask me if you want to know more about frequency technology, how you can use it. Maybe, well, I guess I'll have to, you'll learn all about this in my challenge. So join my free challenge. So to join, comment Spark, and I will send you a personal message, get you signed up. It's going to be a live coaching call, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, the week of August 4th. So this is kind of been a funny talk, called live today because I've been all over the place, out in nature back here. But really, this is such a, the point I want to make is, this is simple. I'm talking about a lot of scientific concepts, but at the end of the day, we oversimplify things in the pursuit of health and wellness. And if we got back to basics, got out into nature where we can find that natural grounding charge that grounds our body, walking in nature. Why does that charge the body? It's that electric charge, that ion, those negatively charged ions in the rocks, in the streams, in the plants. So go get out in nature, charge your cells. I'll keep you posted on my waterfall therapy as my new health breakthrough method to get my cellular voltage fired up. I'll let you know how that goes. Always over here feeling great, seeking ways to optimize health and help you break out of whatever cycle you're in. So if you want to jump on a call, just send me a message and we can book a strategy call and figure out what's going on with you. But either way, sign up for my challenge. And I will see you there in a few weeks and talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me today.